Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. The world needs to hear your message and your story, so don't deny the world of that gift within you that the universe has given you. Someone out there needs to hear your story because it will support them in feeling hope, inspired, and even transformed. Do you want to discover how I help get my clients out of their own way, show up, and confidently share their message? I would love to extend an invitation to you to join me in my free masterclass, Start Your Own Podcast from Idea to Implementation, on Wednesday, April 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find the registry link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest is Lady JB Owen. She is the founder and CEO of Ignite Publishing, the owner of Ignite Moments Media, a speaker, a 20-time best-selling author who truly and wholeheartedly believes in the power of empowerment. She's also a humanitarian and a powerful kick-ass entrepreneur. JB, welcome. I am so excited and happy to have your hand to jump in and to share all about the beautiful things you are putting out into the world, share a bit about your journey and your story. So thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. How are you?
I'm delightful. And thank you for having me. It's such a joy to chat with you and your listeners and be a part of the magic that you're making on the planet.
It is my honor and my pleasure. So with that being said, let us jump right in. So all of those titles you wear, all of those hats you wear, that is a hell of a lot and one hell of a resume. How do you prioritize and how important is prioritization and organization for you?
Oh, well, I think focus is the name of the game. You got to be focused on what it is you really want. You got to be dedicated. You got to be determined. I love all the hats that I wear, but I will say that sometimes some of them take precedent over the others. Obviously, being a parent, being a mom, being a humanitarian. But when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like a job. I remember leaving Disneyland with my kids and I'm like, I can't wait to get home and get back to work. And my son was like, you're the only person on the planet that would be excited to leave Disneyland to go back to work. If you do what you love, then it is a bit easier to prioritize. You put it in order of what's most important to you.
I love what I do as well. But do you find that when you do what you love for a living, it's hard to set boundaries in terms of, okay, I got to stop working. I got to turn it off at this time and that's it. Then it's time for family or time for personal stuff, whatever that is. Do you find that hard to do?
Well, to be honest, I'm kind of a very wacky person. I like to work 8 months hard as wind, like just go. And then I take 3 to 4 months off and I really take that time off. And so it's kind of it started when my kids were in school. I'd take them out of school a month early when they were in elementary school and we would travel for 3 months. So we'd work really hard. I worked really hard as a single mom to be able to afford to have that kind of pattern. I was in the film business for 15 years. You work really hard on a movie and then you take a few months off. So I just got into that pattern. And now I do the same. I work 10 months and then I take 2 months off. I love to play hard and work hard. Yeah. That's kind of my motto.
Now, with wearing multiple hats and being a multidisciplinary, what does your morning routine look like?
I get up at 4:30 and I get up without an alarm clock. Sometimes I get up at 2:30, but 4:30 is my body clock. And I kind of this thing, whenever I go to sleep, I just count on my fingers 6.5 hours. And then that's when I tell myself to wake up. So I just have this ability to okay, I need 6.5 hours of sleep and I'm going to wake up. But 4:30 is usually my ritual. I always write in the morning. I turn off my internet so I don't even get any notifications. I don't even get the blue line and the red line of spell correct on my computer because I've turned off my internet. So I just can write. I write for about 2 hours. And then of course I meditate. I do some of my workout. I love to read books. So I have about 6 or 7 books beside me. And I'm kind of a funny reader. I'll read like a chapter of one. I'll set it down. I'll read a chapter of another. I'll read 3 pages of another. So I'll read 4 or 5 books, but I'll only read a small amount. Like I'll read one thought, one idea, one philosophy, one thing I can implement. And so I'll read a couple of different books and I love to tap. I love to do tapping and just get my muscles going and get, invigorated. So that's pretty much my morning routine. And then by the time the kids are up at 7:30, I'm ready to rock and roll. School, the phone starts pinging, things start happening. But I feel like everything I got done between 4:30 and 7:30, if I get nothing else done for the rest of the day, because that's the way the world is, I feel like I've achieved something. I feel like I've put in the most important part of my day.
That internal alarm clock, 4:30 every day, and that eternal alarm clock never fails you.
Yeah, even on holidays. Over Christmas, I was in Cabo and like 4:30, bing!
I love it. JB, what were you doing for a living before you made the jump into entrepreneurship, and what was the catalyst for that leap into the entrepreneurial world for you?
It's a crazy story, but I had my first business when I was 9. So I started a little business. I know. I started a little business making necklaces on leather strings with little beads on them. And I would go sit outside the tavern that my dad would go to on Friday night. Every week on Friday night, his friends would go for a beer. And I would sit outside and I would say, "Hey, mister, want to buy your girl a necklace?" And she'd be like, "Really?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And I'd put it on her and she'd bat her eyelashes at him and he'd look at her and, "Would you buy it for me?" And there was this magnificent thing exchanging where she would want it. He would buy it. I had made it. He'd get paid. He'd give her a kiss. I mean, and entrepreneurial was born. So I realized I could make things and create things that I love to do. And then I could make money from it. And that just started my whole trajectory. I had businesses all through high school. I had businesses all through my 20s. I just always was creating a business and failing and closing a business and starting another business and always looking for a problem that I could solve to start another business. And so all I've ever really known is entrepreneurship. I worked in the film business, as I said, but you're your own boss and you make your own contracts. And so I've only ever really had 2 jobs. I worked as a cashier one time when I was in high school. I worked at a hearing aid clinic as their marketing manager. And I got to tell you, that was the hardest job ever. And other than that, I've just always loved being an entrepreneur. It's just always been in my blood. Both my parents are entrepreneurs. It's just all I ever knew.
Yeah, you just grew up in that environment. So you emulated that. What drives, motivates, and inspires you to keep going and excelling at all that you do, JB?
Well, that is such a great question. I would say in many ways, my children, I look at my kids and I want them to have a beautiful life. I want them to have a beautiful future. I want them to have all their possibilities available. So I really feel like, how do we make the world a great place? How does everybody live in the center of what's possible for them? There is a big hunger in me. I grew up as a weird kid. I was really ostracized a lot. I look a little bit weird. I dressed weird ever since I was little. I really was into punk rock. I was really into mohawks and blue lipstick and handcuffs on my boots and army clothes. And I never fit into my small town. And I love fashion. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to be in movies. I wanted to be in theater. I wanted to be in all of that sort of kind of fashion world. And I just was always criticized for it and always put down for it. And you can't do that. And what are you thinking? And give your head a shake and get your head out of the clouds. And I feel like everyone should be able to live their dream. I think there's no such thing as living with your head in the clouds. I feel like every time my dad would say, "Give your head a shake," I'd be like, "You give your head a shake." Like, I just didn't fit in. And so what drives me is this sense of knowing that it's all possible. I truly believe God wants you to have everything that you dream of. I remember in Sunday school, my teacher telling me that God wants you to have everything on the planet. And there's a room, this is what she said, there's a room filled with presents just for you. And your job is to go into that room every single day and unwrap them and see what God has provided for you. And so I just grew up thinking like, there's always presents for me. There's always opportunities for me. And that just sort of makes entrepreneurship so much fun and so possible. So I have a weird answer to the question, but I just want people to fit in. I want people to know that their dreams are right there just waiting to materialize. And that's really what drives me.
I love that. I love that analogy of the presence in the room. And you go in and unwrap, because our gifts are presents for the world, not only for us, they're more so for the world. And we need to share those gifts with the world.
Right. And there's something for me, like those presents are mine. I don't have to compete with you. I don't have to fight with you. I don't have to be you. You don't have to fight for me. There's no stealing. There's no competition. There's no competitiveness because my gifts are mine and everything that's assigned for me to experience is already decided, just like it's decided for you and everyone else. And so if we just bask in the glory of how amazing we are and the highs and lows and the trials and tribulations also are gifts to us, then this sense of competition and sense of unworthiness, that all really disappears. And so what drives me is when people really light up and they find themselves and they really awaken to, I am really good at that. I really can do that. This is really my gift. I am on purpose. And when I see my clients and my authors really step into that space, that's electrifying.
It's so powerful to see that transformation, to see people step into, because there are so many people that are walking around asleep and not realizing that they have these gifts and they can tap into them at any time and utilize them to create so much good in the world.
Yeah. And when you don't want to be somebody else, I mean, we all like, oh, I want to be just like them. I just want to be I want to be them. I want to be like them. That's it's really such a waste of our energy because you're never going to be like them. You're not supposed to be like them. You weren't designed to be like them. You were designed to be truly like you are in all your oddities and uniqueness and eclecticness. Be that, because that's what the world wants to really see. Be unique to you.
Absolutely. So I'd love to jump in right now and start speaking about Ignite Publishing. What inspired you to establish your own publishing house, and how has your vision evolved over the years with Ignite Publishing?
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I used to take the bus to my mom's office after school and wait for her to be finished work. And I used to plunk on her secretary's typewriter. And my life was so difficult in grade 4. And I used to write on the typewriter poems and go on and write stories about how difficult life was. And yet I always loved fantasy and I loved to make up stories. I love movies. And so I really started writing at a young age, but again, never thought it was good enough, never thought I'd mount to anything. And here's a fun fact that a lot of people don't know about me is I actually have a small hearing impairment. I don't hear phonetics very well. So I never learned to spell properly. I didn't learn phonetically. I learned by memory. So if you were to ever take any of my school paper, you would see lots of red pencils on them and lots of low marks because spelling and punctuation was never a strength of mine. And who knew that teacher who said you'd never make it? Now I'm a publisher and an editor and all of that.
Yes.
So it's so beautiful how your weaknesses can become your strengths and, your curse becomes what catapults you in life. And so I want to encourage people to realize that anything that you aspire for aspires for you. I mean, really think about it. If you want it, it wants you to be that person. And so really stepping into that greatness it's kind of our mission. It's kind of what we're supposed to do. Even though it's not going to always be easy, it really is the thing that's going to transform us into what's possible for us.
I love that. So many mic drop moments already. This is amazing. I love it, JB. Thank you. How did you come up with or decide upon the name for your publishing house?
I don't. It was really divinely given to me. I don't really know what was the Ignite moment. And I think that was it. I feel like every single person has an Ignite moment. They have this moment that changes them, that transforms them. They're at this pinnacle cross in their life. This is the hardest thing that ever had happened to me. I actually did go through a domestic violence experience with a partner that I was with. And I remember being a puddle on the floor. And I remember wanting someone to come and save me and rescue me until God said to me, no one is coming to rescue you. You must be your own rescuer. And that kind of ignited in me this desire to stand up, to step up, to wake up, to get going, to put some fire in my sadness. And I had 2 children, and it really ignited in me this desire that a flame and a fire, like it starts with a smolder. It starts with an ember. It starts with a spark. And so that really was what made me want to call the company Ignite, is because I wanted people to feel that this was the ignition point of something that was possible for them. With
the evolving media landscape, what innovative approaches or technologies do you see as game changers for the future of publishing?
Well, it's kind of fascinating because as a publisher, I feel a deep sense of responsibility to make books about empowerment. And I've been blessed. Forbes magazine calls me the leader of heart-centered publishing. And I feel for me, it's not technology at all. In all honesty, I kind of feel it's the opposite. I really pride myself on being the most personable, supportive, understanding, communicative. I want people to have a total transformational experience at Ignite Publishing because we held hands, we locked arms, we forged a friendship. I work with my clients every single week. I meet with them for 12, 14, 18, 22 months. I mean, I become infused into their life and their book becomes part of my mission too. And I think that's what makes us different is we want people to have a transformation. We want people to shift ideas. We want people to come into our business and leave almost a different person because they've gone through the experience. I'm not a proponent of ghostwriting. I don't think you should phone it in. I never work with people who are like, I just need to do a book because I need to get on stage next week, or, hey, write me something because I'm doing a TED Talk. That's not my client. I want people to live, breathe, eat, and embody their book. And in fact, I teach and coach that, how to embody your book. Because if you're going to stand on stage or you're going to be an advocate or an expert in something, you need to have lived it and been a part of it. And there's so many people who are suffering from imposter syndrome because someone else wrote their book for them. Mm-hmm. And they don't really know their material. They don't really know even what they put in their book. And so I think what makes me different is I'm actually not so technologically driven. I want people to be heart-centered, and I want people to feel something. And writing is not about just giving facts. It's about making people feel something. And that's really what I stand for.
Now, does your publishing house do multi-author books and solo books? Is it a mix of both?
Yeah. Okay. So we do these wonderful compilation books with themes, and then we do solo books, and they all have to be in the realm of empowerment. And also, going back to earlier, I feel like publishers are very much responsible for teaching people to empower themselves. I kind of feel like self-help is sort of dying out because we're not helpless. No, people don't need to be helped in the sense that they're helpless. I think people need to be empowered. They need to be inspired. They need to be motivated. And as publishers, I mean, we really need to start talking about the things that are going to uplift humanity and ignite humanity, and writing books about drama and trauma and all of the stuff that just is like pulling people into it because it's dramatic, I think is something we really need to move away from. We need to provide literature that is going to make people be better people and better versions of themselves.
Uplift them. Absolutely. 100%. That's what it's about. Now, the publishing industry faces various challenges with the ever-changing landscape of media, how people consume media. Can you discuss some strategies that you've employed to overcome obstacles and stay resilient with Ignite Publishing?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we've really moved into igniting humanity. I feel like Ignite moments. Here's a fascinating idea that I've loved to talk about. Every single person on the planet has an Ignite moment. If you really think about it, there's not one thing that's common amongst every human being other than they've walked a path and they have a story. And if we tell our Ignite moment, if we tell that pivotal moment in our life where we decided to make a clear change or a clear decision, or maybe it smacked us upside the head and we had to change, but over time we look back at it and we see there was some silver lining in it and we see the golden nuggets in it. I really truly feel that Ignite moments and storytelling is what's going to bring us together, because as I even today, right now, have been sharing stories with you about myself, your body is starting to release endorphins and chemicals. You're starting to feel different neural synapses in your brain. You're starting to feel a different chemistry in you, which makes you have compassion for me and empathy for me and understanding for me. And this sense of closeness and connectedness and relatability, that's going to change the planet on a very fundamental level. Because if you start walking outside the door and you look at somebody and you actually see that they are another person with a story and a journey, and maybe you hear that, you're going to be more understanding to that person. You're going to start caring more about that person. So I feel for Ignite Publishing and talking about Ignite moments, it's truly going to change the landscape, because what it's going to do is it's going to eliminate the shame and the fear and the ostracization that people feel when they have a story they don't want anyone to know, or they have something in their life that they're hiding from. I hid from my story of domestic violence for a long time. It kept me very small. It kept me very cloistered in my own shame. When I released that and was free of that and broke free of that, began talking about it, it gave other people permission to do the same. And that started this plethora of healing and this ability of connection. So I feel very much responsible as we're shifting as a publishing house to tell these powerful hero stories. And that's the key point, not the victim story, the hero story. What did that person do with that situation that made them now be a more triumph in their lives? So that inspires somebody else. That's the power of story right there, is sharing our story to help inspire others to share their stories and continue that storytelling. Storytelling is centuries old. We've been doing it forever, and we need to continue that. It's so important. And it's wisdom when we think about it. The elders around the campfire, we're sharing wisdom. We're sharing values. Stories give people, they talk about core values. They talk about essence. They talk about what people's tenacity, perseverance, dedication, all of those things. And I feel sad because what happens is we're attracted to the stories of disaster and the stories of tragedy and the stories of, if you look on television now, it's just serial murders and killers and all of that stuff. We've really lost the storytelling that makes people feel good about themselves and feel good about their fellow man. And again, I think we need to tell more of those stories, because humanity is amazing. Humanity is incredible. People are so good. People are so kind, but people are scared nowadays and people feel lost. And so stories help as guidance. They become beacons of hope for people.
Absolutely. I mean, there is darkness out in the world, but I wholeheartedly believe that there is far more good in this world than there is bad. And the light will always outshine the darkness. The light will always win. We just need more people to get on board and start sharing their stories, at least start talking about them, putting them out there for others to hear, to know what's possible for them.
And it takes bravery. I mean, I've shared so many stories with people who've had to have courage and had to have the willingness to talk about what's happened in their lives. And it takes a lot of courage. And that's the definition of courage. We did a book called Ignite Your Courage. And I remember thinking, you have to have a trial to have courage, or you have to have a challenge to have courage. Just doesn't show up without some kind of opposing force. And that's the great thing about courage, is we need to have the denominator to create the courage, just like love, just like joy, just like happiness, all those things. And the more we really want to embrace those beautiful feelings that are our human experience, and say, okay, this is a challenging moment, but I get to feel courage. Okay, this is a difficult moment, but I get to feel forgiveness. This really allows us to actually be in the experience of humanness versus kind of numbing out or just getting into like blur or autopilot. So I really think that stories actually awaken people to the emotions that we're meant to feel, so that we have a greater diverse experience of this human opportunity to be on earth and do something powerful with our lives.
I love it. What role do you see your publishing house playing in shaping the literary landscape for generations to come?
Well, I really am moving into creating books that are empowering legacy. I read a book was written in 1910 by Walter D. Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. And I was thinking, like, 100 years later, here this book is still having impact. So that, to me, became my mission. How can I write books that 100 years from now are still relevant? How can I be a part of facilitating literature that's in the marketplace that 100 years from now people are still reading, and empowering people and making people think? Because there's this real experience that we have. We can be led, we can be fed, or we can lead and we can inspire. You really want to make a decision on where you fall on that spectrum. And for me, publishing, I mean, people love books. I remember during COVID, books were friends. Like, people, they got a book in the mail, it's like their friend showed up, right?
Yeah.
And books are tactile. And when you read something, you see it bigger, more wider, more ingrained in you than the author ever knows, because you're living it through reading it. And so books have the ability to change people's lives, and stories have the ability to ignite hearts in so many ways. And I think that as publishers, we have such a deep responsibility to provide that material to people, to pull them out of the quagmire. Why would I want to read a book that's just so... I actually close books when they're too destructive or they're just not healthy for my thinking. Same with movies and television. I turn them off, or anything that's just not helpful. I just say, my brain doesn't need that. I need to be staying positive. How am I going to ignite humanity? How am I going to inspire people if I'm filling my brain with negative news or negative information?
Very true. What are the core values then and mission of your publishing house, of Ignite Publishing, JB?
Oh, I love it. Ignite. So I is innovative, G, genuine, N, all about new thinking. I is all about the individual, making sure that every individual feels inspired. T is about transformation. We're kind of disguised as a transformational haven. People come and have truly transformational moments in Ignite Publishing. And it's disguised as writing, because the transformation comes in the doing. And then E is really about everyone. We have a concept here: no one gets left behind. People show up and they're like, I don't know how to write. Someone told me I couldn't write. We have ESL students. We have English as their first language students. We have an author who was blind. We have an author who was 12. So we have an idea: no one gets left behind, because every single person's story matters. It doesn't matter if you live on the street or in the Taj Mahal. Your story matters to somebody, and your story could be the lifeline to someone else. And so really our core values are about uniting everyone, bringing people together, being innovative, and transforming. And this is what I feel about transforming. You have an idea. I give you a new idea. Based on that information, you create a third idea, and that is what transformation is. It isn't about process dissemination. It isn't just about hearing it. It's about taking what you know, learning something new, and then creating a third thing from that. And that is the power of transformation.
I absolutely love that. That is so fucking powerful. I love it. I love it. JB, how do you choose partnerships that align with the values of your publishing house and your personal mission?
Well, I get next to people and I watch people, how they treat people. How do they treat the waiter? How do they treat the Uber driver? How did they talk on the phone? How did they show up? I really think actions speak a lot louder than words, even though I live in the world of words. When it comes to partnerships, I really look for synergy. I really look for vibration and aligned values. And one of the things, I'm very candid and I'm very upfront with who I am, what I believe in, what my ministry is in my life. If people don't align with, that's great, because that's a litmus test for the people that I want to work with. And so I tell authors and business owners all the time, be true to your authentic story, because it will attract the people that are attracted to that. If someone doesn't like your story, if people don't like that I'm blonde, or that I do this, do that, that I believe in God, that I went through domestic violence, they're not my people. And that's okay, right, because there's so many people on the planet. But the women who resonate with me because I've been through domestic violence, and the people who know or are passionate about the things that I'm passionate about, or the people who have the same spiritual faith that I have, we connect on such a beautiful vibrational level that we can do so much more because we're in synergy. And I think that's an important thing. Wherever you are, just be you so that you attract the people that truly want to lift you forward and move you into your mission. Because we all get to be different. We all get to be unique, but don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't try to be somebody else, because that just, it's so much more work. It's so much more
what is,
to be someone you're not.
You're right. Yeah. Well, what does Dr. Seuss say? Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Right.
Yes.
So there you go. And your vibe will always attract your tribe. You'll find your people. And that's what it's about, is surrounding yourself with those like-minded people who believe in similar things, who have similar values, all of that. That's what we need.
I read a study that said you really only need 1,500 fabulous fanatical fans. And those 1,500 fans, that's all you really need. You don't need hundreds of thousands. I have people say, oh, I can get you 100,000 followers. And then I think, well, what does 100,000 followers do? Like, I want to connect with my people. I go to my authors' homes. I fly to see them. They come and pick me up. I've been lost. My car wouldn't start. Like, my authors are my family. And I don't need 100,000 people to just like my post. I need people that I call them in the ditch people. Like, when I'm in the ditch, I can call them and they show up.
I love that. In the ditch people. I'm going to use that. But you're right. If you have 100,000 followers, how many of those 100,000 are you actually interacting with?
Right.
A very small percentage. So why have these grandiose numbers? They don't mean shit.
They don't. And why aspire for them? And why think that matters? It really doesn't matter. And also, let's just talk about it. It doesn't convert. So what you have 100,000 followers, if they're not converting, if they're not actually consuming what you're selling, how is that working for you either? Exactly. I just want to say, all you Ignite authors out there, I just love and adore you. I just think you're wonderful. And thank you for being in my community, because that's the best thing about what I do, is the community. For anyone who's starting a business, think about how to build a community, how to build a tribe, how to build people who love what you do and you love them, because that makes getting up every day, 4:30 in the morning. Who cares? It's worthwhile, because you've got people out there that love you and you love them back.
Find those super fans, those people those ditch people, right? That's it. Yes.
And serve them and serve everyone. How do you have to be so successful? The first thing I think about in my success is, how do I serve? What would I want? If I was the customer, what would I want to feel? What would I want to receive? And so when you serve first, I'm getting a t-shirt made. It says, take less, give more.
You're right, though. That's another part of why we're all here, is to be in and of service to one another. Mm-hmm. We're here to lift each other and support each other. I learned that lesson quite early on in my entrepreneurial journey about being in and of service. When I left corporate and started my photography business, I was all about going to these brands to collaborate, but I had the mindset, well, what's in this for me? And then I had a mentor, and he said, no, you're looking at it all wrong. You need to shift that and go into these companies and say, how can I be of service to you? What can I provide to you that's going to help you? And that was a huge lesson for me, and I've adopted that ever since. And thankfully, I learned that very early on in my journey, and I'm so grateful for that mentor and to that mentor for teaching me that, because it not only is in entrepreneurship, but it's in life.
It's true.
as
I call
well.
it the triple win. How can I win? How can you win? And then how can a third person win? And
right.
I wasn't always like that in business. I had another very successful business that I walked away from because it didn't have that triple win piece. We win as a business and our authors win, our readers win. Now we give money from all the proceeds of our books to build schools. Now the students win. The students go home. Their parents win. So you always now, whenever you're starting a business, you want to think about the 3X, the 4X, the 5X win. How can you make sure everyone is winning in the experience? Because that creates wealth and abundance.
Absolutely. I love it. As an author, JB, can you share a pivotal moment or experience that ignited your passion for storytelling and literature?
Well, recently in December, I did a speaking engagement and the MC got up on stage to introduce me, and her introduction was reading the first paragraph of one of the stories I wrote in Ignite Your Wisdom. And as she was reading the first paragraph, she started to cry. And she said, reading this paragraph, I was that woman. I could relate to this story. And she was crying on the stage and she was all choked up. And she said, this was my life. And reading this story, I was able to step into ... And now this is why I'm here today. And this is why I've created this conference and all of that. And so that was a big moment for me, because when you're in front of hundreds of people and you choke up and you cry, it's real, it's authentic. And so just reading the first paragraph of one of my stories brought her to such this place of identifiableness that what I was going through, she was going through. And that propelled her to want to do this and now create this summit. So that's something that happened to me very recently. And I didn't realize how impactful my writing really brought her to this emotional place where she was like, doggone it, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do something different. And so that for me was an awakening. That's just one person. And now we don't know the hundreds and thousands of other people that not only read my story, but read my author's stories and are truly have these pivotal moments that shift them into a new trajectory. And that to me is just tantalizing on every level, that people are being shifted and changed by the words, the authentic words of another human being.
Yeah, because you never, ever know who's watching, who's listening, who's reading, because there are a lot of people you don't hear from that you do have an impact on, and on. And you have to trust in that and believe in that by sharing your story.
Right. And I've even had men reach out to me who've been in domestic violence, either as the perpetrator or the receiver, and have said that me being really genuine about my story has really helped them. And that's quite profound for me, because you often as a writer, you think this is a transition that has to happen for most writers. So if you're an aspiring writer, let me just share with you, when you move from writing from yourself to writing for others, when you realize it's the reader who really needs to benefit from the story, and you stop writing for yourself, or you stop writing for your own ego or your own self-indulgence, and you really write to know that there's one person out there with that book in their hand reading that, and that's a lifeline for them, it shifts everything about your writing. And that's a powerful place that many authors don't get to because they're so busy grandiosing their own experience that they're not realizing that it's the reader that really needs to benefit from this. And so just like your podcast, I mean, we do this for the listener. We want something that we say to move the trajectory of that person's life. Even if it's 1 degree, over time, 1 degree will turn into 50 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees, and make a massive change.
100%. I don't do this for me. This is for my guests. This is to shine a light on people like you who are doing incredible things in the world, to let other people know what's possible, but also to share the stories of what you're doing. So I love the storytelling piece because that ties in with my photography, the podcast, writing. It's all about storytelling. This is the common or the golden thread through all of it. It's so important.
And ignite humanity.
Yes. Together we will do it. Together we will do it. I am absolutely blown away by the fact that you are a 20-time best-selling author. Congratulations. That is massive. Has writing always been a part of who you are, your path, or was writing fairly new for you when you first dove into this world?
Again, I wrote as a kid. I wrote a lot in my angst and in my angst years. Writing was and again, I mean, I'm 50. So when I was a kid, we only had our journals and our diaries. We didn't have anything
and typewriters.
Yeah, exactly. But in 2003, I wrote a book. It was my first book that I published. I had a really tumultuous relationship with my parents. I left home after high school and I moved to the Dominican Republic. And I lived there for 3 years in a third world country. And it's a fascinating experience for me because I came from a very privileged family. I thought we had everything, but in a lot of ways, we didn't have this connection and this love and this family unit that I really longed for. And when I moved to the Dominican, I saw the families there. They had nothing. They had dirt floors and shacks and 8 people sleeping in one mattress. They had nothing, but they had everything because they had family. They sat around the fire and ate. They walked to the store holding hands. They helped each other. And so it really changed for me the idea of family and connection. And I started writing my mom letters. I started writing her letters of forgiveness and restitution and connection. She never wrote me back. I wrote over 200 letters to her, but I came home and I was so much more in love with her. I saw her from a different viewpoint. I was so willing to just see that she had a difficult childhood and she came from the war and she came from all of these things. So she only did what she knew to raise me. And it fascinatingly taught me that it only takes one person to heal a relationship, because when you shift, everyone else around you shifts. And if you forgive, then you change the whole paradigm. And so I wrote a book about it, and it was all about how to write letters and letters of forgiveness and letters of compassion and connect with people through letter writing. And that was my first foray into publishing. But I got a publisher and I did everything wrong. They took 80% of my sales. They signed me up on a contract that I couldn't get out of. And so I learned that I would never treat any of my authors like that. And that really started me on the goal of, I don't want this to happen to anyone else. How can I do it differently and do it better? That's
a powerful lesson and a beautiful one. Painful, but again, as you said earlier on, failing in business is also great because it's a lesson. It teaches you, and pulling and finding the silver lining in all of those situations, because I believe that there is always a silver lining in every single situation, no matter how bad or good it is. There's always a silver lining there. It's our job to be able to step outside of it, look in, and pull that out to move forward with, to do better with.
Yeah, and if you think that everything happens for your highest good, this is happening for my highest good. This is terrible, but it's happening for my highest good. This is not what I expected, but it's happening for my highest good. If you just step into that place, it's for my highest good. This is for my highest good. You start to look at it from a perspective of, how is this serving me to move forward, instead of how is this holding me back or downtrodden. If this is for my highest good, okay, let me see where. Let me learn the lesson from it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know that a lot of artists have a process, a creative process, when they sit down to create their art, whether it be painting, writing, music, photography, whatever it is. Do you have a process when you actually sit down to write? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, and I tell all my authors, create a ritual for yourself. So I have my favorite writing chair that's all tattered and ugly. I have my lap board that I put my laptop on. I listen to binaural beats, which is fantastic because what happens is it activates the brain. But the wonderful thing about it is every single time I put on my binaural beats, my brain knows it's time to write. I have a candle that I love, so I have that same smell. So I create a ritual around my writing so that it's, when I sit down to do it, my body knows, oh, this is writing time. There's that smell. There's that music. There's that comfy chair. There's that feeling. There's that time of day. And so I get into my writing process so much quicker and so much faster. So for people who they go write, they kind of randomly write whenever they just can't get into writing, create a ritual around it. Maybe it's outside, maybe it's at the cabin, maybe it's at nighttime, maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's like me, 4 a.m. But train yourself to do a ritual around your writing, and then be willing to practice. I think everyone sits down for some reason. I'm always shocked. Everyone thinks that they're just supposed to know how to write a book. Well, yeah. I don't know how to fly a helicopter. If I had to fly a helicopter, someone would have to show me. So if you want to write a book, someone's going to have to help you and coach you and show you. But you have to start practicing. You have to write more and write a little bit and write what you don't like and write something else. Be willing to edit it. Be willing to change it. And so this ritual that you create, there's no such thing as perfect. It's all going to be great, but practice it and move into it every single day. Do it as a routine. Do it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every day for 21 days. Be in practice of it, because nothing comes to us if we don't. No one has raced, ran, sang, built, created, manifested, architected. No one has done any of that without practice. And writing is the same. And somehow we just got this in our mind that we're supposed to know how to do it. You got to practice it and create a ritual.
Thank you for sharing that. What advice do you have for young authors or entrepreneurs seeking to make a mark in their respective fields?
Well, I immediately want to say, write something prolific. And what is prolific is what is real. Now, this isn't for fiction writers. I mean, I'll just speak about people in my genre, which is empowerment, is be willing to be prolific. Don't be vanilla. Don't be every day. Don't be just, it's good, it's nice, it's fun. Add the real essence of you into it and be willing to shift people wherever you are on the line. Either they're going to love it or they're going to hate it. And that's okay, because not everyone's going to love what you write, but write true, and write to activate people. Think about igniting people, whatever that is. You want to ignite passion. You want to ignite inspiration. You want to ignite calmness. You want to ignite a feeling of peace. You want to, whatever that is, be willing to ignite that in a person. Don't just be stationary across the board. I'm just going to say what's safe. And I also deter people from writing what's on trend just because they want to make money. I tell people, write what's in your heart, write what's right up in your throat that you need to say, that's just plugged right there, that you got to get it out.
You got to get it out. Yeah.
Right. And right. So don't write what's on trend or write what you really want to be known for. That's really important. Write what you want to be known for so that when people hear you, meet you, or they know what's synonymous for you. So write what you want to be known for. If you want to be known for being the person to whatever, I met a guy just a couple of days ago. He's a famous painter. He's going up in the SpaceX. He's going to paint in space. So if you want to be known as the person who paints in space, write about that. Don't write about gardening. Write about what you're passionate about, what you want to be known for.
Yeah, absolutely. Being a fearless female entrepreneur as you are, what challenges did you face in the early stages of building your publishing empire, and how did you overcome them?
When I was an entrepreneur in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't a lot of women who were entrepreneurs. So I was really following the male business model and the male, what I call currency of success. Men have a different currency of success than women. So for women, what I really want to say to you is know what matters to you. Know what success means to you. What is your currency of success? What do you qualify and quantify as success, and go for that? Now, most of the time for women, it's an emotion, it's a feeling, and it's always the feeling over the facts. I say that all the time. I cycled across Canada. It was 5,000 kilometers on our first trip. It was 10,000 kilometers on our second trip.
That is incredible.
Thank you. But, 197 kilometers before we hit the finish line, I literally said to my husband, I'm willing to stop right now because I feel so full. I feel so blessed. I feel so humbled. I feel so championed. I don't even need to reach the finish line because I have all the feelings that I'm going for. I wanted to feel, I feel right now in this spot, not the finish line. And I think a lot of us aspire for a finish line and not the feelings. And so when you work towards the feeling of what it is you want to feel, whatever you aspire for, and women are different than men. And I think that's the key, is we have to look at what is success for you, individual. What does it mean for you? And men are changing too. Some men, success for them is the corner office. For some men, success for them is being able to stay home and take their kids to baseball. Yeah. I mean, it just depends what success means to you, but go for that. Go for the feeling of that. And know that as a woman, you can do anything. You deserve, I don't always love this term, a seat at the table, but you deserve to be wherever it is you want to be. You just got to work hard to get there. You got to believe in it. You got to put in the time and the effort. I think sometimes women, not to speak badly of women, but sometimes we love other people to do stuff for us. And as a woman, you need to be willing to do the work. And I tell my team, I'm not willing to ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And so you, as a woman entrepreneur, you need to be willing to know every role, every job, every responsibility. You need to be willing to do the work and not always ask somebody else to do it for you. Yeah.
Forget the seat at the table shit. Build your own table.
Right. Exactly. Or yacht.
Yeah, whatever.
Or balloon ride, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that is.
I have a friend who's going to Antarctica, and she's come to Antarctica with me. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to go, but she wants to go to Antarctica. So I'm like, great, make that that's your thing. Go for that dream. Go for it.
Yeah, make it happen. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Now, being a kick-ass female leader who believes very strongly in the power of empowerment, as we've been discussing, how do you empower yourself to overcome obstacles and stereotypes often associated with women in entrepreneurship?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm blonde or not. I just don't care. I just don't buy into what other people say. I have had so many people say to me, why would you want to do that? And why do you work so hard? And why do you aspire for that? And why do you want to do that? And it's their stuff. Their no is their no. Their why is their why. I really empower myself with the knowingness that it is absolutely possible. Going back to that room full of presents, I believe if I really want something, that God wants it for me too. And the universe wants it for me. And so if I work towards it and if I aspire, now lots of times we course correct. Don't get me wrong. There's times where I want something and then I go there and I'm like, actually, I don't really want that. Actually, I just thought I wanted that, but that helped me get to here where now I know what I want more.
But you know what though? Sorry to interrupt you, JB, but it's important to remember that it is okay to course correct. It's okay to change your mind. Once you've started something and it doesn't align for you anymore, it's okay to change your mind. I just wanted to throw that in there. Sorry.
And it's the best thing when you go in a direction of what you think you should be doing, and then you literally get the information to say, no, course correction. That is so, so powerful. What happens is many people don't even start because they're so willing to commit to one direction, only to be okay to change course. But they feel like, well, what if people are watching, or what are people going to say? And that goes back to what I really don't care what people are going to think. I think that's one thing that we all have to have as business owners, is that knowingness, that conviction. And if this idea came to me, and this assignment was given to me, and this calling was put upon me, that's what I'm supposed to do. And other people who naysay against it, it's not theirs. So they can't speak to it the same way we do. Of course, they're going to naysay against it. That wasn't planted in them. And so just lovingly understanding those people and giving them the grace to say, it's okay, that's a limitation for them, and just keep going forward and just keep going with your own knowing. That will get you there. And if you need to course correct, hallelujah, bravo. What's next?
I love that. Thank you. Again, so many mic drop moments, jewels. I love it, JB. Thank you. Looking ahead, what legacy of empowerment do you hope to leave in the business world?
Well, I really want women to know that anything that they do that helps others will help the future generations. So when we empower others, we empower them to empower others. And I think that's something that we really need. It's not about giving people fish. It's about teaching them how to fish. It's not about a helping hand. It's about empowering people to realize that they have the power to do it themselves. And too many of us, I feel, are feeling helpless and feeling like we have to be helpful. And what we need to do is we need to inspire people and lift them up to a place where they can do it. And everyone needs a helping hand. There was a time in my life where I couldn't afford groceries, when I was struggling, when I was terrified if I was going to drive the kids to school and run out of gas. I had some really difficult times, but I chose not to be helpless. I really decided to dig deep to figure out what was it going to do to get me out of that position, because no one was going to come and rescue me. And so if I could leave a legacy with everyone to believe in themselves, believe in the power, believe that you were born magnificent, you were absolutely fantastic, everything about you is phenomenal. We're just going to go through difficult struggles throughout our journey to really dial into the magnificence that we are. And the legacy is that when you help yourself and when you rise up, you give permission for someone beside you to rise up. And we all deserve to rise up. We all deserve to live in what the center of what's possible for us. We need to start thinking about what we're capable of, not what we're not capable of. And I really, truly want people to feel like if ever they've crossed paths with me or heard my voice or been a part of me, that something I said instilled in them the belief that it is possible. Whatever you dream of is possible. If you want it, it wants you. So go after it, go get it, go do it. And even if it doesn't turn out the way you thought it would, I can guarantee you it'll probably be better. It'll probably be more fantastical and more amazing than you ever imagined if you just had the courage and the belief and the willingness to go after it. And so no limitations.
What do you say to people then that are living in that fear? Let's say someone, you think about all the people who are stuck in jobs they hate. There's millions and millions of them. So what do you say to those people who have the fear that let that fear stop them from taking that leap? I don't know what I would do, or how am I going to make things work if I make the jump and I've got the comfort of this corporate job. I got my benefits. I got all this money. What do you say to those people?
Well, maybe your listeners can help me, because I have this new book in mind and it has a terrible title. It's How to Stop Ruining Your Life is the title of it. I got to get a new title because it's not a positive title, but the whole idea is how to stop ruining your life is to start doing something else. Just start doing something else. And it could be anything. Like how to stop ruining my life is to start exercising every day, or how to start reading a book. How to stop ruining my life is to start going outside. And so if you are stuck in a rut and you don't know what to do with your life, my advice to you is to start doing something else. And that could be anything, but just start doing something else.
Well,
so help me with a better title for that book. But the philosophy, and I have an acronym for START, START, how to start doing something else. But really, how to move out of where you're in that hamster wheel is just to start doing something completely different than what you've done. Maybe you've never ran before, go running. Maybe you've never played chess before, play chess. Maybe you've never swim. Like start doing something you've never done before to just completely change it. I did that in my life. I started going to meetups. So I was broke, but there were a ton of meetups every week on the computer, and they were all free. And so I just started going to them. I started going to the drumming meetup. I started going to the comic book meetup. I started going to chess club. I started going to debate. I made myself every single week go to a meetup that was completely nothing I'd ever done before, to just start doing something different. And that led to meeting somebody, to something else, to an invitation somewhere else, to getting my confidence, to getting a new, just start doing something else. Look, I gave you a really long answer. I must be really passionate.
No, I love it. I love it. I can feel the passion. It starts with one small step. That's all you need to do in the right direction, in another direction. And then it ripples out from there. But you have to start. If you don't start, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of empowerment, what does that word mean to you? How do you define the word empowerment? I'm
kind of funny because words are pictures for me. So every time I hear the word empowerment, I just feel like this massive moving upward, this rising up, coming out of the ground, this great big phoenix, this giant statue. I just feel such a rise from it. And it's an earthly thing. We rise from the ground, rise from the ashes, rise from something. But I feel like empowerment is so rooted in the ability to rise. And when you empower yourself and you empower others, it's contagious. It really is. And so I don't feel like empowerment. I don't beat my chest. I'm not really into the kind of feminism empowerment. I don't think empowerment is ever about bringing another person down, or there's levels and someone else has to lose for you to win. I think that's a very old paradigm. Really, empowerment is very self-driven. And it really is looking at the things within you that you can do to increase and learn more, study more, be more healthy, listen more, get down on the floor and play with your kids more. Just give people the ability to just rise up, but it starts from within you.
What has been one of the most important things you've learned in your life? And what was your life like before learning it? What was your life like after you learned it?
I think it's the triple win. I had a business before, and it was all about the money. It was all about the dominating. It was all about market shares. It was all about building products just because they were making money. And I just really lost the focus. I actually started the business by myself. And then in 2008, my husband, I was in the stock market. All of that crashed. He came to work with me in my business and then hired a CFO that was male, hired a CCO that was male, hired a CMO that was male. And suddenly the whole children's clothing business that I had shifted dramatically in its intention. It became about the money. It became about the bottom line. It became about dominating others. And it almost destroyed me personally. My health declined. I entrepreneured myself right out of that marriage. It destroyed my life in many ways. And what I learned from that lesson was that the most important business you can have is one that serves others. And when you serve and you create a business that solves a problem, when you build something that helps others, when you win and somebody else wins and then a third person wins, that's the most important kind of business. And even though that business rose to $1 million in less than 4 years out of my basement, wow, my business today has far exceeded that financial gain, but has far exceeded the emotional gain, the community gain, the humanitarian gain, the philanthropy gain. I was knighted for my humanitarian work. I've been awarded for my give back. I have to tell you, when I go to a school that we built and I see those kids, I just want to do more of that. So having that give back, that triple win, that to me has been far richer in my experience than any money, car, purse, bank account I ever had before.
Well, the money comes and goes. It gets spent. It's about the impact we leave on the world and about the impact we leave in people's lives. That's what it's about.
So true.
The money's comes and goes. Money is energy. It comes and goes, and
it's true.
That's it. But it's about leaving an impact.
And that, funnily enough, when COVID ended and I pulled out that really expensive purse that I had that was in storage for 3 years, it had fallen apart and decayed and broke. And the hand, that's what happens to anything. Anything you don't pay attention to anymore, you covet and you hide and you save. Yeah. It actually dilapidates because it needs to be used. It needs to be in process. And so, folks, if you're saving all those things for a rainy day, or saving that good china, or saving that bottle of perfume, go use it, because it won't be there if you covet it like that.
For sure. What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
I just believe it's possible. I wanted to cycle across Canada. I was 50 years old. People are like, what? I'd never cycled before. I'd never ridden on a bike before. I was like, I just want to.
Seriously, you'd never ridden a bike before even?
I'd never ridden, like I'd ridden a bike like as a kid, but I'd never cycled before ever.
Holy shit. So what inspired that goal to want to do that? What was the inspiration behind that?
I just felt like you can't tell me I can't go out of my house.
All right.
But I'd also gained a lot of weight.
Rebellion.
Yeah, a little bit. And I gained a lot of weight eating junk food, sheltering in. And I had also watched my kids. I watched my kids actually get very disheartened by the world, and they became very lackluster of their future, and they became very fearful of what's it all about and what's it all worth and why even try. And I was like, are you kidding me? This will pass. We will overcome this, but we have to start thinking about what's possible. And I'm just a real proponent of put your money where your mouth is and to walk your talk. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to cycle across Canada and I'm going to show people that anything is possible. You can do it. Just put one pedal in front of the other. And I'm very blessed to say that we've cycled across Canada twice. We cycled to Alaska, my husband and I. This summer, we just cycled from Canada to Mexico. And everyone is, are you crazy? You're going to cycle the Baja, like the most dangerous highway in the world. And I just knew that it was possible. I just knew that I could do it. And visualization was the key. I just visualize it. I see it. All my endeavors, I see them. I visualize them. I see the finish line. I see the positive results. I see the impact. I see the people that they help. And when you visualize something like that, you put it into being. You create it. You manifest it. And so I just knew, here's the thing. My husband said, are you afraid that we won't make it? And I said, honey, because we ride tandem. We ride two people on one bike.
Right.
I said, honey, if we get out of our neighborhood, we've succeeded. Because we got up off the couch and we didn't sit there and say it wasn't possible. So any mile past the first mile is a success to me. And I think people need to think about that more. We're always thinking about the finish line and we're not thinking about the increments. We're not thinking about even the courage just to do it, the awakening, the stirring the pot, the creating the cornucopia of possibilities. That's what we all need.
I love it. I love your attitude and you're so inspiring, JB. Truly. Thank you for sharing. Truly.
Thank you.
Amazing. Now, speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does the word success mean to you?
I think it's really about self-love, self-appreciation. I have to be honest. I wasn't always this way, but I really like who I am right now. I like how I like my laugh. I like the way I show up. I like the way I help others. I like the way I love my kids. I love my husband. I love my authors. I like that I'm quirky and silly. So I just grown to like myself, like the things about me that aren't perfect. And I think that's a success. When you wake up and you love who you are, I think that's the greatest success, in all honesty. And I'm not the flavor for everybody. Not everybody's going to agree with what I say. I'm even going to make mistakes. I'm going to totally trip and fall. I'm going to blunder. I'm going to mess up. But I do like who I've become. And that's taken work. That's taken a lot of personal work. That's taken a lot of forgiveness. That's taken a lot of understanding. That's taken a lot of humility. It's taken a lot of putting the ego aside. But it's so much more enjoyable when you like who you are and you stand behind what you believe in. I think that's success. I really do. I think that's great success. Beautiful. And my second answer to that is my kids. I want to be at all of their 50th birthday parties. I want to see children that I've been a part of them being good human beings on the planet. And I think if you can create kids in the way that we're the custodian of them and we support them in being incredible human beings in any way, I don't mean financially, I just mean good people that are supportive of where they live and of their community. I think that's success too. I think so. That's my
values of giving back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What would you say is one of your biggest failures or life lessons, teachable moments, whatever you want to call it? I know you're okay with the word failure.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from it?
Well, I really had a big failure when I walked out of my company. I had a very successful clothing company. We were in multiple countries with multiple stores. And I just walked away from it. I walked away. I left $780,000 worth of stock in my warehouse. I left a pen on my desk. I left the files in my filing cabinet. I took my kids. I got in my van and I drove away. And I didn't sell the company. I let the landlord foreclose on the building. I let the liquidators take the stock. I just left. I just walked out of my life. And it was probably the biggest failure ever. I mean, people were aghast that I didn't sell the company or recoup any of the funds. But what I learned deeply from that, how important mentorship is and how important it is to surround yourself with good people that can support you during a crisis. Because I was in a crisis with my relationship. I was in a crisis with my health. And so I didn't surround myself with people who could support me. I didn't surround myself with good business coaches and good mentors and good support team. And that was the one thing I learned the most, is the biggest hardships you face in life is because you're trying to do it on your own.
And you can't. You simply cannot.
And pride and ego and whatever all of that stuff is, it wasn't worth it. All of the pride and ego was not worth losing all of that.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section here. So next grouping of questions just be 2, 3, 4 word answer type thing, okay? If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Igniting humanity.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Tenacious.
What is one of your favorite entrepreneurial books?
The Science of Getting Rich.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
My laugh. Is that allowed?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course. If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Compassion.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Talking to God.
And that concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I have a little bonus question here that I threw in that I didn't send to you ahead of time. What would you do, JB, if you had enough money for the rest of your life and didn't have to work?
Exactly what I'm doing right now.
What is one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you had started your entrepreneurial journey?
It's all going to be okay. No one's bleeding from the jugular. It's all okay.
We're not saving lives.
Calm down, relax, just take it in stride. It's all going to be okay.
What is the most recent investment you've made in yourself?
Wow. Is spending more time in Mexico, spending more time on the beach, being in nature more.
If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
Who was your role model?
Okay.
Who was your female role model? And I'd say it was my mom. My mom started a business when I was 7. She had that business for 42 years. She was the epicenter of our community. She did massive things for the schools, for the handicapped, she even helped get mortgages for her staff. She's a minister. She's married some of her staff. She's done funeral for some of her staff's parents. She has literally, I've watched her run a business in our community and then be so kind to all of her people who've worked for her.
A pillar of the community.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. If you could set up a billboard anywhere in the world, where would you put it and what would it say?
Well, I guess I'd put it in Times Square and it would say, take less, give more.
If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Well, what came to my mind was I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with myself on my 100th birthday.
I love
and
that. And
just really ask myself when I'm 100, what I could learn today, what I've learned for the next so many decades. Mm-hmm. And I'd want to talk to myself when I'm 100.
I love your laugh too, JB. It's so infectious.
Thanks. My kids actually, they're like, if we ever get lost from our mom, we just listen for her laugh, then we find her.
There you go. That's a good thing. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, the same. Just care less about what other people say and care more about what you believe.
And lastly, JB, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your corner of the world, your tribe, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
I would say you have everything you need right inside of you. Everything you want for the world wants for you. And you were born magnificent, baby. So just keep being magnificent.
Love it. JB, thank you so much. This was such an incredibly beautiful, fun, inspirational, mic drop moment conversation. I loved every minute of it. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, a bit about your story, your journey, and the beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. I appreciate you, and I am so grateful to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you for being here with me today.
I deeply honor you in return. Thank you for the work that you do, and big hugs and blessings. You are igniting lives.
Thank you. I received that. Once again, my name is Brad Welsh, host of your Empowerography Podcast. Today, my guest has been Lady JB Owen. She's the founder and CEO of Ignite Publishing, the owner of Ignite Moments Media, a speaker, a 20-time best-selling author who truly and wholeheartedly believes in the power of empowerment, a humanitarian, a kick-ass entrepreneur, and last but certainly not least, a mom. Thanks so much, JB. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca and follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.